In 2024, scientists read a dead woman's thoughts. She never consented. And that was just the beginning. Elon Musk's Neuralink might dominate headlines, but it's only one piece of a global scramble to turn the human mind into hardware. To some, it's hope, restoring movement to the paralyzed, giving speech back to the voiceless. To others, it's a nightmare, a future where privacy ends at the edge of your skull. Where corporations fight not for your data, but for your thoughts. The real story isn't Neuralink's promises. It's the shadow race happening all around it. And the question you'll have to face is simple: who controls your mind first? The real story begins in 2024, when a university lab crossed a line no one saw coming. Scientists decoded the inner monologue of a deceased woman with 97% accuracy, using sensors placed on the scalp. No surgery. No implants. Just external monitoring. She never consented. And that breakthrough wasn't just a technical feat, it was a warning. Neuralink's implants go deeper. Tiny threads, thinner than human hair, inserted into the cortex by a robot surgeons call the sewing machine. These threads read and stimulate neurons with terrifying precision. Early human trials have allowed paralyzed patients to move robotic arms, type by thought, and communicate without speaking. That sounds miraculous. And if Neuralink were the only player, maybe it would stay that way. But there's a shadow race happening, and some competitors are already ahead. While Musk tweets about monkey brain games, Synchron has already implanted patients. Their stent-based approach threads through blood vessels, no skull drilling required. They're getting FDA approval while Neuralink is still fighting for permission. Paradigmics is building arrays with 10,000 plus electrodes, compared to Neuralink's 1,024. Think keyboard versus full-body VR suit. More electrodes don't just mean faster typing, they mean reading emotions, accessing memories, maybe even influencing decisions before you make them. Here's what this looks like in 5 years: you apply for a job. Your competitor has a neural implant. They process spreadsheets 3x faster, never forget client names, and can learn Mandarin in a week. The hiring manager doesn't ask if you have a degree anymore, they ask if you're augmented. Are you still competitive? Or are you obsolete? Who decides what data is captured? Who gets access first? Because whoever shapes those rules won't just control technology, they'll redefine what it means to be human. Neuralink dominates headlines. But the shadow race involves far darker players. In 2018, DARPA awarded $65 million to develop brain implants that could restore memory in soldiers with traumatic brain injuries. The program, called Restoring Active Memory, RAM, successfully demonstrated that electrical stimulation could enhance recall by up to 37%. That was 6 years ago. The current capabilities are classified. China filed patents in 2021 for emotion recognition helmets designed for classroom monitoring. Teachers could theoretically track which students are focused, distracted, or emotionally unstable in real time. The technology was tested in select schools. Parents weren't informed. When journalists investigated, officials claimed the program was discontinued. The patents remain active. This isn't science fiction, it's regulation failure. The law is stuck in 2010. The technology is already in 2030. While civilian companies fight for FDA approval, military and state actors operate without oversight. Paradigmics aims for 10,000 electrodes. DARPA's classified projects likely exceed that. More electrodes don't just mean faster performance, they mean reading emotions, accessing memories, maybe even influencing decisions before you consciously make them. And then there's hacking. In 2023, security researchers demonstrated they could hijack a cochlear implant remotely, forcing the device to play sounds only the wearer could hear. The manufacturer called it a theoretical exploit. The researchers published the code online. It hasn't been patched. Now imagine that's not a hearing aid, it's a neural implant controlling your visual cortex. Your thoughts. Your sense of reality. Researchers at UC Berkeley reconstructed images people were viewing by analyzing unencrypted EEG signals from a commercial headset. The device costs $300. You can buy it on Amazon right now. The images were blurry, pixelated, but recognizable. That's the gray area, not fully invasive, not fully secure. And the gap between blurry images and decoded thoughts is shrinking faster than regulation can keep up. Here's the nightmare scenario: you're sitting in a negotiation. Your competitor's implant reads micro-expressions you don't even know you're making. They adjust their strategy in real time based on data you didn't consent to share. Or worse, someone hacks your device mid-meeting and feeds you false visual information. You see a contract with different terms. You sign. Later, you realize what happened. But proving it in court? Good luck. The race is happening in labs you can't visit, with funding you can't trace, under laws that don't exist yet. The decisions are being made right now. Without you. Forget secret military labs. The real invasion is already in your living room. By 2025, you'll be able to buy a brain interface for less than an iPhone. And you'll want one. In 2022, Meta filed patents for wearable EMG wristbands that claim to read electrical signals moving from brain to muscle. They market it as a way to control AR glasses. The patent describes it differently: continuous neuromuscular signal monitoring with predictive intent modeling. Translation? It doesn't just read what you're doing. It predicts what you're about to do, before you know it yourself. By 2023, companies like Emotive and NextMind were selling $300 to $400 headsets for meditation tracking and focus training. The marketing shows serene faces, calm breathing, inner peace. The terms of service tell a different story. Your neural data can be stored indefinitely, analyzed for patterns, and sold to third parties. Your meditation session becomes a product. Facebook already tracks your behavior. But in 2023, a leaked internal memo revealed they'd been testing emotional state detection through webcam analysis, monitoring micro-expressions to target ads. Now imagine that, but with direct brain access. No camera needed. Just raw emotional data, harvested while you scroll. Netflix recommends shows based on what you watch. With neural tracking, they'd recommend based on what your brain waves betray you'll crave, even if you consciously don't want to watch it. Addiction becomes algorithmic. A 2023 study in Frontiers in Neuroinformatics showed that simple EEG bands could detect emotional states with 85% accuracy. Happiness, stress, boredom, all mined and monetized. Here's where it gets darker. In 2024, a class action lawsuit revealed that one meditation app company had been selling anonymized neural data to insurance providers. The insurers used it to flag users with stress patterns linked to heart disease, then raised their premiums. The users never consented. They didn't even know their brain data was in the supply chain. The lawsuit was settled quietly. The practice wasn't banned. It was just disclosed in the terms of service. Page 47, paragraph 12. How many people read that far? The story isn't just about soldiers or secret labs. It's about the slow, comfortable creep. From helmets in classrooms to meditation headbands in living rooms, brain interfaces aren't arriving with a bang. They're sneaking in through lifestyle upgrades. And every signal they capture makes you less unpredictable, less private, less free. Because the real endgame isn't restoring speech or controlling prosthetics. It's selling prediction. And once your mind is predictable, it's controllable. In 2011, a security researcher stood on stage at a hacking conference and stopped a stranger's insulin pump, wirelessly, from 300 feet away. He didn't touch the device. Didn't need physical access. Just a laptop and the manufacturer's default encryption key, 0000. The FDA investigated. The manufacturer issued a recall. But the same vulnerabilities exist in neural implants today. Between 2018 and 2024, labs proved something more disturbing. They reconstructed faces, images, and even fragments of music from brain recordings. Sometimes from surgical implants, sometimes from simple EEG caps. In one 2023 study, researchers showed participants clips from YouTube. Then they decoded the brain activity and reconstructed what they'd watched, blurry, but recognizable. You could identify the video from the neural reconstruction alone. Machine learning turned raw neural activity into viewable content. Decoding isn't science fiction. It's peer-reviewed. Now add consumer hardware. EEG headsets from companies like Emotive cost $300 to $1,000. They're marketed for meditation, focus training, gaming. The signals they capture are lower quality than hospital-grade equipment, but paired with AI, they're good enough. Good enough to guess emotional states. Good enough to detect patterns. Good enough to leak information you never intended to share. The attack path is already proven. Device vulnerabilities: researchers have exploited medical implants, forcing recalls and firmware patches. Signal decoding: labs have reconstructed images from brain activity with recognizable accuracy. Consumer pipelines: headsets stream data to cloud servers, where vendors' terms allow retention and third-party analysis. Put those three together, a hacker intercepts your headset's data stream. An algorithm, trained on lab datasets, decodes your neural patterns into rough images of what you're viewing. Today those images are blurry. Tomorrow they'll be sharper. The gap isn't whether it's possible. It's how long until someone weaponizes it. Here's what that looks like: you're wearing a VR headset, playing a game. The game tracks your eye movements to improve graphics. But it also tracks pupil dilation, a measure of emotional arousal. An advertiser buys access to that data. They test thousands of product images against your responses. Within minutes, they know which products trigger desire before you consciously notice. The next day, targeted ads. You click. You buy. You think it was your choice. It was a prediction that became manipulation. The question isn't whether your brain can be hacked. Researchers already proved it can. The question is, when it happens to you, will you even know? Military applications are terrifying. But let's be clear, they're not your immediate problem. Your problem is already sitting on store shelves. In 2025, Meta's AR glasses arrive, paired with neural wristbands. Apple upgrades AirPods with focus tracking. Samsung patents phones that measure stress through your grip. All optional. For now. But here's the timeline no one talks about. 2026, your workplace introduces a wellness app that boosts productivity by monitoring your cognitive load. Not required, but employees who opt in get better assignments. 2027, your insurance provider offers a 15% discount if you share neural wellness data from your meditation headset. Decline, and your premiums rise. 2028, your child's school recommends focus tracking headbands. Officially voluntary, but strongly encouraged for students who want to succeed. At what point does voluntary become mandatory? When it decides your promotion? When it doubles your insurance costs? When it shapes your child's future? This is the quiet coercion no one prepares for. Not tanks or brain helmets. Just economics. Just social pressure. The fear of being left behind. So what can you do? 3 things. First, read the fine print. Page 47, paragraph 12, that's where they hide the clauses about resale of neural data. Second, push for neurorights. Chile has them written into law. Your country probably doesn't. Contact your representatives. Demand that cognitive liberty is treated like digital privacy once was. Third, resist normalization. When someone asks, why don't you use a neural tracker yet? Remember that you're not obligated to participate. Staying analog is still a choice. But here's the catch, once adoption crosses 50%, opting out isn't just opting out of the technology. It's opting out of society. And once your brain print is in a database, you don't get to pull it back. The race for your mind is already here. Not in classified labs. In offices. In schools. In homes. And the decision you make in the next 5 years, whether to plug in or stay human, may be the last decision that's fully yours. Because once your choices are predictable, you're not choosing anymore. You're following the algorithm. And someone else wrote it.